Dominic Thorne is back as brilliant engineer Riri. Is that right? Riri Williams.
How do you think Ironheart will shift the narrative for the coming generations?
Yikes.
I love that lyric. Looks like us, you know what I mean? Long nails, long hair, popping out here.
After starting on a Marvel show, like, where do I go from here?
It's directed by two black women.
Black Girl Magic!
I think we have a very special message. I think you gotta recognize who this is.
For 400 years, that word has kept us down. Took a whole lot of time just to get up that hill. Now we up in the big leagues. Getting our turn back.
Does that make you feel like one of the original Avengers saying that?
I love Iron Man too.
Get on the bandwagon. It's here. We're here. Tony's on the bandwagon, so you know what's the problem.
Exactly.
RDJ is here.
Right.
It's nice here. Good morning.
You went full retard, man. An imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived. Just farting in bathtubs and laughing your ass off.
Man.
It's high science, man. It's art form. You an artist.
Oh my God, thank you.
Never go full retard.
Nerdrotic.com.
Friends, Disney Marvel's had a rough time of late. It's been almost a year since the release of Deadpool and Wolverine, the billion-dollar box office smash, and as predicted, it was just an anomaly and it would be right back to the regular scheduled Disney Marvel programming, and it's been all downhill from there. Despite Bob Iger repeatedly saying over years when it comes to Disney Marvel that they were going to start focusing on quality over quantity, over the last 9 months, the opposite has happened as Disney Marvel has put out a steady sewage stream of slop featuring A and B list characters that even comic book fans would have a hard time caring about, that are radically altered in some form or another, be it the passing of a mantle or just an outright race and gender swap, so these characters can reflect the Los Angeles that they live in today. We've gotten theater kids Marvel with Agatha all along.
The gayest project Marvel has ever done.
Yup!
Which admittedly is the best performing Disney Marvel thing since Deadpool and Wolverine, coming in 45th on the Nielsen Top 100.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
But after that, Captain African American flopped, Daredevil flopped, the Thunderbolts flopped. And you know the House of Mouse and Marvel, the House of Out of Ideas, was expecting at least one win in there. A win they didn't get, and this brings us to Ironheart. Maybe Kevin Feige was thinking he could sneak this in between a couple of hits. Turns out that was
not a great plan.
Not only not a great plan, the worst plan in the history of plans. If you recall, Ironheart was announced on December 10th, 2020, and filming was completed in November of 2022. And then Kevin Feige actually watched it.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
And after 2.5 years and almost a dozen attempts to re-edit this turd, they could delay it no longer, and they finally released a trailer in the shortest amount of time in Marvel's history and herstory between any MCU project's first trailer and its release date.
Iconic.
Which was ratioed into oblivion for good reason.
Iconic.
Because it turns out adapting an unpopular character from an unpopular comic that was canceled multiple times.
Iconic.
And then deciding to have the genius idea to adapt it into a television show that cost between $100 and $150 million, coincidentally greenlighting it right after the events of the Summer of Love, purely as a virtue signal, adds to the Olympus Mons of evidence that Bob Iger and Kevin Feige
Don't know what the they're doing.
And despite Kevin Feige himself reportedly saying that Marvel feels more like homework than entertainment, Ironheart requires homework. But it's really not that much. According to Disney Plus, all you need to watch is Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and What If. But there is some good news. You don't have to watch any of that or this show. So after almost a half a decade from conception to excretion, Ironheart has arrived. And unsurprisingly, we have to break this meme out one more time because our expectations were low, but holy f***. Keeping in mind, Kevin Feige in these last 5 years had every opportunity to shit-can this for the write-off, but instead he made the worst mistake imaginable by actually releasing it. And no, it's not being undersold. After 3 episodes, this is by far the worst live-action Marvel ever made. It is indeed the Marvel's acolyte, although maybe not as funny. At best, it's 25 minutes of content stretched across an hour and a half, not counting the 18 minutes collectively of credits, which were sweet relief. The show could be best described as boring, frequently interrupted with the purest forms of cringe, and unintentionally hilarious due to the portrayal of diverse characters in the most stereotypical way possible. I've put this off long enough. Let's talk about Ironheart. Now, credit where credit is due, a show that clearly knows it's one and done, doesn't waste any time, and alienates the audience right off the bat, because this is how it starts.
Here we go, okay. Just to let you know, your girl finna be bigger than Johns.
Right.
Bigger than Gates.
Right.
Bigger than Pym.
Right.
Bigger than Stark.
Yeah.
Combined.
No.
The only thing your girl finna be is as big of a failure as the Marvels. But to be fair, she could potentially be as big of a villain as Bill Gates. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Riri's friend Natalie says this.
What do you want?
More than anything. A knife with thorn his hammer.
And his hammer? Well, I guess that's on brand for Disney.
You flick too hard, damn it!
Anyway, most of the first episode is dedicated to getting to know Riri Williams, and I gotta say up front, she is the definition of grace and humility.
I'm here because I can be the greatest inventor of my generation. I'm gonna need the equivalent of a whole vibranium mountain to be great. Due respect, Dean Troy, what do I get out of matriculation? Some job in Palo Alto with a tiny window and a bunch of guys I have to pretend to like? I want to build something undeniable. You want me to be small, but I refuse.
Now, it's here where she gets called out on her and it's also an unintentional description of the show.
That's a hot pile of garbage.
But then it's right back to it.
You, Riri Williams, are making an iron suit.
People are obsessed with them. I could build 1,000 other things, and no one would care. But if I could build one of them, better than everyone else, people got no choice but to respect me.
And it wouldn't be Disney Marvel if they weren't taking a shot at the legacy character that she was supposed to be replacing.
I need cash, money. Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire?
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
How come you're not working at, like, I don't know, Stark Industries or something?
He contributed immensely to the field, so I won't roast Tony Stark off rip. But I don't have $1 billion.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
But it doesn't end there, because the crack, or more accurately described, on-crack writing team at Disney Marvel attempts to make Riri even more endearing by having her get expelled for selling completed tests to students.
You sold completed assignments to students at every school in the area.
After that, Riri steals the Ironheart suit that she thinks she's entitled to because she built it with money from a grant.
She built that with her own grant money.
And she flies home to Chirac with the help of the MIT AI, who's a gay pencil.
Sup, I'm Trevor, MIT's teaching robot and virtual operational resource, and your very own AI assistant.
Violin.
And your very own AI assistant.
Now, if the show ended with her being expelled, 10 out of 10. Unfortunately, it didn't, but if you're a viewer out there who made it past this part and to the end of the first 3 episodes, you deserve reparations.
Hey, yo, get off the street.
So Riri makes it back home, cut off from her gay pencil AI and broke. And through a series of contrived events, she runs across another race-swapped character from the comic books, the Hood, who we will now call Da Hood, and his League of Extraordinary They-Thems, who we'll get to later. And just in case for a moment you forgot that Riri Williams was a genius, they decide to remind you again.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius, but I said to myself, Parker, you gotta meet this kid up close.
Quick reminder, that was a line of dialogue that was written by a human, delivered by a human, sound edited by a human, edited by a human, and approved by a human, and actually released by other humans. After some slight apprehension, Riri Williams decides to knowingly join this criminal organization when they promise they don't hurt anybody.
Look, I don't want to hurt anyone.
It's not like that.
Okay, so what do you do?
Theft, extortion, breaking and entering.
See, it's fine. Now, most of the next 2 episodes dedicate an excruciating amount of time reconnecting Riri Williams with her dead best friend who's now an AI. So for the sake of your valuable time and our collective sanity, I'll try to get through this briefly. The one component Riri Williams needed to get her suit working again was an AI, which she was able to pull off after knowingly taking money from a criminal organization. While she was trying to replicate the AI of the isolationist ethno-state Wakanda, through plugging her brain into her laptop, she fell asleep thinking about her dead best friend, which manifested her into artificial intelligence. I think at this point it's prudent to point out Disney Marvel's efforts to show the lived experience of marginalized people. Because it turns out Riri's stepdad, Gary, and her friend Natalie were killed in a drive-by shooting.
Message!
And now Natalie is back as an AI and an acronym.
You could call me Neuro-Autonomous Technical Assistant and Laboratory Intelligence Entity instead.
Give me something for the pain and let me die.
Admittedly, the AI Natalie is a far more likable character than Riri Williams. What's the message there? Well, you'll have to ask Disney Marvel. And their scenes together can be summed up with this.
You know nothing about this man. Don't laugh at me.
Best friend, that's the best friend. I know best friend, that's the best. Come on, go best friend, that's my best friend. Hey.
Now, will you upgrade the suit?
Now, Riri still needs some components for the suit she stole, and this brings us to the trademark Disney Marvel turning a formidable character from the comics into an ineffectual male. And it also might be one of the saddest examples of a downward career trajectory. Alden Ehrenreich, the former Han Solo from Solo, #Solo lost money, now playing, and we're just gonna cut to the chase on this one, Ezekiel Zeke Stain, son of Obadiah Stain, who keeps his pop's remains in a Ziploc bag.
The hell, Joe? Why is he in a baggie?
We weren't close.
And now the supervillain from the comic that looked like this now looks and acts like this.
Heather?
Hey, neighbor.
Hello. Think you could stop letting your dog poop on my lawn?
Are you crying?
Sorry, sometimes it just happens. It's totally involuntary. And then you come knocking on my door with that same iron energy. It's a non-starter, Riri.
Why is there a sweaty middle-aged white man at my door?
I'm 36, respectfully.
But at least there's a great bonding scene between Riri and Zeke to Alanis Morissette.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Now, I'm skipping past a couple of characters because they're too boring to mention, but the cast is rounded out with DeHood's gang, the Groom Patrol. And most of them are based on characters from the comics that are changed just a little bit. There's Cousin John, who's John King. He doesn't look like his last name is King, but you never know. Then there's the Blood Siblings, who are based on the Blood Brothers, who started out looking like this in the comics. And while using some creative license, there's a slight variation from the source material. Now they're played by a couple of lesbians, who in a moment of rare accurate representation are shown in a flashback beating the hell out of each other. But let's keep in mind this is Disney Marvel, and of course they're the muscle, and they beat the hell out of every dude in the first 3 episodes. Then there's Clown, which is an appropriate name for a character in this show. Oh, and Eric Andre is in this for some reason, and I guess his career has seen better days, playing Rampage. Again, just a minor tweak from the comic books. He ends up dying, and his character arc is best summed up by my good friend Az's meme. And last but definitely not least, there's Shea Coulee's Slug, who looks like this in the comics, and I have to admit the resemblance is uncanny.
I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm kind of one of Madripoor's most wanted. Toot.
And for the 5s and 10s of people who actually watch this show, you may be surprised to find out that this is his first acting gig.
It's created by yours truly. Old meets new on steroids. Wait a minute. I lost comms with Riri. Roll call. You there? Hello?
So after DeHood and the Merry Suicide Squad pull off a series of capers robbing the rich, which is best described by everyone's pal Epic Mike on Twitter, all the action in the first 3 episodes of Ironheart are the poor disenfranchised innocent criminal gang beating up and shooting working class security guards, but they all work for billionaires, so it's justified. But what the Social Justice League doesn't know is DeHood is in league with Mephisto. You know, the character that everyone thought was going to be in WandaVision audition until they found out that showrunner Jack Schaefer had never heard of him. Well, now they're gonna waste him in this show, which is a shame because he's played by Sacha Baron Cohen, who coincidentally finally settled his divorce with Isla Fisher, and all he has to pay her is $75 million, and now we know why he took the gig. Anywho, along with extorting all these rich people, the Hood is forcing them to sign a contract which I'm sure has something to do with their soul. You know, the thing that will be slowly draining out of anybody who's not a seasoned pro watching this. And to save what's left of mine, let's get this over with. After the super intelligent AI Natalie susses out eloquently that the Hood is sketchy,
I sense some crazy energy radiating off Parker. I don't know what it is, but it ain't from around here. I think Parker is wrapped up in some sketchy shit.
I don't know what gave it away, possibly all the robbery, extortion, and attempted murder. The super genius Riri Williams comes up with an unnecessarily overcomplicated plan to get a piece of the Hood's cloak to see how it works. And she plans to do it during the Agents of Antifa's final caper, which of course goes sideways. By extorting Hunter Mason, an evil rich guy who just wants to grow food, the Hood conveniently stands still while monologuing so Riri Williams can cut off a piece of his cape. She accidentally sets off an alarm and doesn't lift a finger while the Hood kills Hunter Mason, and then she f***s off so the Hood can kill over a dozen working class security guards. Then she gets caught red-handed by Cousin John with a piece of cloak, who conveniently doesn't throw any of the knives he's specialized at throwing while fighting her, and then she leaves him to die. Our hero. But not to worry, because she feels really bad about her deliberate decision. And the last lines of episode 3 best describe the character of Riri Williams.
Riri, please talk to me. Good?
No, I'm not.
Just like with the comics, the only way to logically interpret Ironheart is to see it for what it is, a villain origin story. So let's recap this. Ironheart, a show for the modern audience that's meant to lift up and represent marginalized people, features a protagonist who's an unlikable, insufferable, selfish narcissist who's consumed with being iconic, who lies, cheats, steals, and is responsible for at least 2 deaths. Her stepfather and her best friend get killed in a drive-by shooting, and every other character is a one-dimensional DEI cardboard cutout. The only question I have after watching this is, what does Marvel have against what they call marginalized people? And all this is thanks to the worst writing and acting in Marvel history, going back to the Electric Company. Except for this, which may go down in history as the best bit of acting of all time.
Quite frankly, you have been a horrible steward of Stark's legacy.
Acting.
Most things Disney Marvel of late, meaning the last half decade, the cycle will repeat over this monstrosity. Fans will be blamed. The accusations of review bombing have already started, and I would agree in this case, you gotta be kidding me. And once all this stalls out, we'll probably start it all over again with the Fantastic Four, featuring the female Silver Surfer, which Disney Marvel desperately needs to be a hit. Bottom line is, Marvel knew that Ironheart was going to be terrible. That's why they barely promoted it and dumped it all within 8 days. Kevin, buddy, you should have had the balls to cancel it because you keep repeating the same mistakes. Ironheart is indeed the most comic accurate representation of a horrible character from an awful comic made into an even worse streaming show. And the only thing it will be remembered for is being an iconic failure.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.